Hello everyone, welcome to the very first and probably super awkward House Rule podcast, where we're going to be talking all things board games until we get distracted and talk about something else. I'm Alan, and today I'm joined by...
Is this where we come in?
Probably, yeah.
Okay, I'm Tobias.
And I'm Tom.
From here on out, we're going to be talking about games we're into, things we like, things we don't like. We've all been avid gamers for a while. I think I'm right in saying.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I really like board games. I just don't like rules.
No, that is like... Yeah, I mean, trying to teach you the rules for a game is probably the most stressful part of any board game night with you.
I can't even read the rules, so...
Well, no, that is very true. I mean, all three... So, as a bit of background, all three of us work in the video games industry. We've also worked a little bit on some card games. So we worked on the Lightseekers card game and Warhammer Champions. So we've got a bit of background there. But, you know, generally we just enjoy a bit of a mixture of games, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, man.
I'll play anything. Board games, games in an airplane.
Games in an airplane?
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like, when you're on an airplane, they got games on the screen you can play.
Why was that the next thing you went to?
Because I'm talking about playing games on the ground and playing games in the sky, you know.
I love it.
Really showing off what I can do.
I love it.
Wow.
So focused.
I mean, if anyone thought that you weren't a credible source of information, Tom, then Games on the Plane has really, really completed that.
Yeah, I'll take on that topic if we ever want to talk about that.
I mean, we're probably the only podcast, I imagine, that covers plane-based games. What's your favourite one, Tom?
Well, they got a good, like, Pac-Man version that's not actually
Is
Pac-Man.
this interesting?
No?
It's pretty good.
I like the game where it tells you where you are and how far you are away from your destination. But
So-
hey, let's move on.
Let's move on. What is House Rule? Well, House Rule is going to be a new podcast series, a video series where we play games that we enjoy, basically. Maybe we'll try out some stuff coming to Kickstarter and the like in the future, but right now it's really dedicated to the things that we enjoy. You and I, Tom, have recorded a few things so far, right? Nothing's out there quite yet, but we did a playthrough of the Arkham Horror card game, the first Night of the Zealot set, where I was playing as a FBI agent and you were playing as a small child.
Yeah, I was the small orphan
What an
child.
absolute dream team. What an absolute dream team. How
was
did they
good.
come together?
He tried to adopt me, but I wouldn't let him.
I kept telling him he had to call me daddy, but
Okay.
I think I managed to get one daddy out of him eventually, but it was a struggle, right? You weren't
Yeah, it was
really
half-hearted.
forthcoming.
Yeah, I didn't really mean it either.
So I think for me, the thing that I'm like most interested in is we play a lot of very, very different things, and I think we all come from kind of like the things that we love are slightly different, and it's that nice unification of introducing one another to different things. We'll talk a little bit later about my introduction to it. For the most part, has been highly tethered to Alan's Kickstarter.
I don't know what you're talking about,
but we'll cover.
I think I'm the same, you know.
Are you?
I think he just presses it on everyone else.
Look,
Yeah,
there's not a problem here. It's all
but
good.
my notifications on Kickstarter say otherwise. The WhatsApp channel I created to tell you off every time I'm going too far ahead.
Well,
We'll talk about
I've got
this
some
later.
shocking news
But,
for you later about my Kickstarter problem.
Oh, no.
And it's going to be a revelation for
I'm
you,
so
Tobias.
happy.
And it's something. Remind me, it's something that I need to own up to.
Hey, okay, well, that's exciting.
Oh, God.
But anyway, yeah, before we start moving on to Kickstarter and the like, maybe let's give a bit of an idea and talk about some of the games that we each enjoy. Give people a bit of an idea of who we are.
Yeah, so I suppose I had an old school friend called Tom, who kind of like was my first foray into it, and then you kind of started enabling me slightly afterwards. I suppose I started off playing stuff like Pandemic, Ticket to Ride, those kind of things. So kind of stuff that's fairly popular. Most people who are listening to this have undoubtedly tried those. But as I got introduced to more stuff, I started to develop more of a taste for kind of like Resistance and Wolf and kind of like bluffing, more competitive games.
Deception.
Yeah, deception kind of games that I think are much more my forte. And then I really like anything Lovecraftian where it's not beating the game that's really the goal. It's how far can you get before you're inevitably defeated, and then kind of like the stories and little tales that come out of it are the thing that I really enjoy. I love the journey of the game more than the outcome. I don't care about losing. I care about just having a laugh whilst doing it.
Yeah, I think that's an important thing that like I definitely feel, and I was having this conversation the other day, that once you get more and more into playing games, like the winning becomes less important. Like I very rarely now think to myself, I want to win this game. You know, like I'm very rarely looking for the win. I'm just trying to make things fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, precisely. I love the story elements. Yeah. It's when we played Nemesis, it was much more kind of like being those little characters and pretending to be in those situations rather than I'll try and complete my goal, but if I don't get there, I'm going to have a laugh on the way.
And I think that comes as, so obviously you've got your two types of game, and for anyone, you know, the two kind of categories that games tend to fall into are either Euro-style games, which are things like your Ticket to Rides, games that are very much about the mechanics, and then you have Ameritrash, which are more of your things that are based around narrative, and maybe they have a lot of direct combat, and they're story-driven, and they're very much about the theme. And I think that if you are into your... this obviously isn't across the board, but I generally think if you are more into your Euro-style games, you probably look to win more than if you're into your Ameritrash stuff, where it's more about the story and the theme and what happens along the way. Obviously, that's not the same for everything, but I think that's stronger emphasis on those.
That's quite eye-opening, because I hadn't actually heard those terms before.
Right, okay, yeah. They're the kind of... Ameritrash. Some people see Ameritrash as like a slightly derogatory term for it, but it's not really. It's pretty
crude.
It's thematic is what it really means. And how about you, Tom? What are at the top of your list?
All right, so I went with the very top of my list, right? This is one that we haven't really played together. I don't even think any of us have played this together.
This sounds like an actual list, Tom. Can I hear you leafing through papers? Have you written this on like the back of a fag packet again?
Run out of fag packets, to use paper packet things.
Go on then. I'm excited. We've not played it, Tom.
So I picked Dice Throne. Now,
I've played Dice Throne with you.
Have we played it once or twice?
We played it at the pub, Tom.
Oh yeah.
Once. Me, you, and Ben played it. But go on.
Yeah. So that's a game I played quite a lot when I went to PAX. On my own without you guys, which was fun because I got to spend too much money.
You didn't play it on your own, did you?
What? That was such a loaded little statement.
Well, it's because
what was that? The PAX where I had fun.
PAX, on my own.
Can you stop saying on your own, because you don't mean on your own. You mean with other people.
So basically, when I went to PAX, it was my birthday, and I went a bit crazy buying games. But yeah, no, Dice Throne was definitely one of my favourites.
Well, for people who don't know what Dice Throne is, Tom, do you want to give us a bit more of a... Do you want to tell us a bit about what the game actually, what it involves?
The way it was described to me by people before I went and tried it was like a Street Fighter game, but a board game. But essentially, what it is each character gets their own amount of dice. I think it's maybe around 12 dice each.
Maybe inaccurate. We'll find
I think
later.
That is inaccurate now that I've said it. But let's go with 6. We'll go with 6 dice. You know what? I'll go half what I said. I'm going to half what I said.
It's like a fighting version of Yahtzee, basically.
Yeah.
You're rolling dice to try and collect different things where you might need to get a straight or like 4 of a kind or whatever to be able to do different.
Yeah, it depends what you want to do. Yeah. Anyway, you roll dice. They have different faces of them, and let's say one face has an ultimate orb kind of thing that will contribute towards your character using your ultimate, but you have to use that ultimate orb. You have to roll that ultimate orb on all 6 of the dice to be able to use it. So it's got a lot of luck in it, but it's also there's a lot of different abilities each character can choose from, depending on what you roll.
But each character plays differently, don't they?
Yeah. So, for example, you have the sharpshooter guy, the marksman. He's got a revolver, and his defense mechanic is different to everyone else in the fact that he does like a standoff, like a cowboy duel with you.
I think the only problem I vaguely remember having with it was that we were playing a 3-player game, and I just remember that both you and Ben were both absolutely battering me, because who you damage, if I remember right, in a 3 on an all isn't up to you, right? It's kind of determined by a roll.
So it's like I think if it's 3 players, it's like the person to your left will be 1, 3, and 5, and then the person to your right will be 2, 4, and 6, or whatever. It's something like that. So yeah.
And the problem I had with that was that it meant that just by sheer bad luck, you guys were just absolutely beating the shit out of me.
Or it was rigged.
They told you it was bad luck, mate.
Well, I think they had weighted dice, but you know.
Oh my god, that was almost too close to rules. I kind of zoned out
sorry.
for a little bit. I was thinking about Tom's lonely birthday.
Tom's lonely. He was sat there with a little cupcake with one
by
candle
himself.
in it, by himself.
Yeah.
I spent too much money on games on my birthday. That was ridiculous.
I mean, that's why I was kind of... I mean, not glad. Glad's not the right way. But maybe why I was relieved that the UK Games Expo was cancelled this year.
Yeah, because I would have gone too hard.
Yeah.
My wallet definitely felt better for it.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys spend all your money at events on games. I buy rule books. I buy so many goddamn tabletop.
You've got loads of D&D rule books and stuff, right?
Yeah, Numenera, Tales from the Loop, Vampire, those kind of things.
I'm really interested in checking out the Tales from the Loop one. I was thinking about it the other day. I know you bought that at UK Games Expo.
I've had it for yeah, man. I wasn't going to, and then you convinced me to.
The art was sexy, so we had to get.
Yeah, no, it's gorgeous. I can't remember the Swedish. Yeah, I can't remember the Swedish dude's name, but I can never pronounce it. I won't do it justice. The world that's kind of come out of his imagination is absolutely fantastic. Deviating slightly, so let's pull back. But I think down the line, certainly, I'd love to talk more about tabletop roleplay as well.
For sure.
I think that's kind of where my heart is in terms of gaming.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's not something I've played a lot of, but obviously, we have recently just started playing a game of Vampire. So we're three games in at this point after last night, where we played our most recent, which ended in a huge car accident. But hopefully we can... I don't know how that happened.
I can't wait to talk to people about all our vampire adventures and stuff like that. But for now, let's have a quick little talk about some of our other favourite games and games that we probably don't enjoy quite as much. I think that's quite important.
So I've been really into gaming now for probably 5-6 years, something like that, and have amassed quite a collection, and that's obviously changed and moved over the time. But a bit like you, Tobias, my interests are very much in sort of thematically strong games, something with a good narrative, something that we can keep coming back to. And I'd be lying if I said us doing House Rule wasn't part of to give a reason to make us regularly go back to these games and complete some of these campaigns. And to justify the things that I buy. So, you know. Yeah. And
how much do you...
Yeah.
Quick question. Yep. How much have you spent?
No.
Let's not talk about that. Some of my favourite games. So I love things like Kingdom Death Monster. Kingdom Death Monster is great. I need to play more of it. Yes. Seventh Continent, another great kind of narrative, exploring a new world. If you've not seen it, it's building this whole world out based off cards, flipping cards, building the island. But the game is made up of about 2,000 cards. So if you actually build out this whole thing, I've seen pictures, it's just a sprawling landmass that covers like a living room floor. It's absolutely insane. It's sort of Victorian era traveling. You've been cursed as a group. You travel to this seventh continent to try and remove the curse, and it's surviving on this island. It's an amazing game. But I'm also actually a huge fan, and this is a game, Tobias, I know we've played. Tom, I don't know if we've played it. Maybe we have. Above and Below.
Oh, yeah. I was
going to say it's more of a Euro game, but it has that narrative appeal to it. It's only very small, so if you've not heard of Above and Below, have we all played it, by the way?
Yeah. I enjoyed that game.
And you played it, Tobias, haven't you?
Yeah, we played it with Benny and TJ,
yes.
And TJ won.
Yeah, I know, and
the one time I played
against TJ. This is weird because we've had two Toms play it. They're both in the nicest possible way a bit thick.
Yep.
And they both won. So
I told you,
if you've
I'm
got
just
a thick friend,
competitive.
you want to give them a chance, get Above and Below.
In the nicest possible way doesn't diminish what you said at all.
Yeah, so Above and Below, if you don't know what it involves, it is basically you are building up a village, bringing in villagers, building buildings, very typical Euro-style game, recruiting people into your town. Each day you can send people out to work, they can do different jobs. But the other side of it is that's the above. You can also go below, which means that you get a big book of stories. and you get a short paragraph. You pick characters you want to send on an adventure, and then another player reads out a short paragraph about what happens to that adventure. You roll a few dice, and you see the outcome of it. So it's got that narrative, but it's a very small inclusion of it.
Cool.
It's a fun game, right?
It's one of the few games that I've seen perfectly execute being able to write little narrative story kind of choose your own adventure type cards and really work for the game without kind of like being tedious or too much.
So that comes from the designer Ryan Lockett, who's also done his next game after that was called Near and Far, which kind of draws a little bit more on the progression side of it. You're not building a village, but you've each got your own character, and you've got this really cool atlas book, which each time you play it, you flip to another page of the atlas, and that's now the part of the world that you're exploring. And his latest game, which hasn't come out yet, which has been on Kickstarter, and somebody here may have backed it, don't know who that might have been, is called Sleeping Gods, which looks like it pushes even further, where you are a group of sailors on like a steamboat, and you're coming home. You're coming back from, I believe, like China, heading back, and get lost in a storm, and you find yourselves around these unknown islands. And this is a team game, you're sailing around the islands. Again, it makes use of a big atlas book where you're flipping from page to page, and you've got to find these hidden stones to help you get home.
I like that.
But throughout the game, I think you only need to collect like 8 stones. But in the game, there's like 100. So you can play it multiple times and get different stones and uncover different storylines, and it looks amazing. Like, it's Ryan's biggest game to date, and it looks, if you're into that kind of game, it looks absolutely awesome.
So you've added a whole level of kind of credibility to this by knowing the designer's name.
I know. Tell me about it. Ryan Lockett's work. I mean, not only is Ryan like, do I really love his game design, but he also does all the artwork.
Okay.
Yeah, I do really like.
I really like that.
I do like the artwork in Above and Below and Near and Far. is really nice.
Yeah, it's very simple. I'm also just really personally fond of kind of like the I suppose the auteur designer, somebody that has a vision and kind of does everything themselves.
Yeah.
I think it really helps kind of create a purity of vision, and you get some lovely outliers that do very, very different and interesting things when you kind of design less by committee, I suppose. Cool. I look forward to this pirate steampunk boat. So I don't know the people that design these because I'm rubbish. But the ones that I keep on going back to, there's one Alan and I have played quite a lot, which is Corporate America.
Oh, yes, great game.
Which is so good. It's like Monopoly, apart from one of you can become the president and be a dickhead. So in Corporate America, you basically buy out businesses, and you try to create kind of like synergy between all of your businesses, and then at the end of a round where you've all gone round, bought your businesses, made money off them, somebody then tries to become the president, voted into office, and the last round in the game is executing executive orders and essentially creating like better environments for certain industries to thrive. So you can make lots of promises. Oh, I promise that I'll make entertainment. I'll pass lots of legislation that will make entertainment thrive. And boom. And then you can go back on your word. You can do anything you want as a president. It's absolutely brilliant.
See, I'm a big fan of when you say, hey, I want to run for president. I'm like, you know what, Tobias? I like what you stand for. I'm going to back you. I'm going to put some money into your campaign. But you don't get to know how much money the people are putting in.
The person who becomes president is the person with the most money. Truly corporate, yeah. And you don't put the money down facing up, so you can't see how much people have actually put into it. So you can lie, and you can. Anyway, there's a lot of kind of like bluffing and manipulating and empty promises and greed, and it's great. It's great fun. One that I always go back to, I think it's pretty well known, is Sheriff of Nottingham, because it just does.
Oh, that is a classic, yeah.
It's so good. It just does bluffing, lying, and trying to win quite well. It's just really funny. Also, I think it's the most drunk I've ever seen Alan playing that game.
Yeah, I was pretty shit-faced when we were playing that.
Yeah.
16 apples.
Apples!
16 apples.
I've got a video of that somewhere, so maybe that'll do the rounds at some point.
Yeah.
Drunk Alan trying to get 16 apples through.
Not even a thing, those 16 apples. I think it's how many I've actually just had on my board. I don't think... Yes, the idea with Sheriff of Nottingham is you're trying to sneak... If you don't know it, you're trying to... Someone's the sheriff, the other people are market traders. They're trying to bring different items in, but the sheriff might be trying to get money off of them, so you can bluff and lie about the products that you're bringing into the town. You put all your things into a small envelope, and the sheriff has to decide whether he believes you or not. If he doesn't believe you, he can open it, and he might get money if you were lying, or you get money off him if you were telling the truth. And that's pretty much the game, and the sheriff changes every round.
Yeah, lovely little bluff game.
Yeah,
it's absolutely fantastic. And the little pouches that you put your merchandise in to try and get through the gates is just incredibly gratifying.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
a lovely little velvet bag.
No, they scare me because they're starting to wear... The poppers are starting to wear on my one, so...
Yeah,
they're actually just about to release a new edition of Sheriff of Nottingham, thinking about it. Second edition comes out in the next month or so. I saw the artwork. I actually prefer the original version's art, but I think other than that, it's mainly just an aesthetic change. I don't think mechanically it's any different.
Doesn't need to. It's pretty sublime. I just need to stop playing it drunk, I think.
Yeah, no, let's find. Here's a show for us. The best games to play drunk. So, we've talked a little about some of the games that we like, do we want to just have a real quick mention of anything we haven't really enjoyed?
Yeah, go for it.
I know, Tom, you haven't really found anything you were saying to me before, right? Like, you still haven't really found any games that you haven't particularly clicked with?
No, not really. I mean, I've only been involved with board games the last couple of years, and yeah, I mean, I think most of my time playing board games is at events, so maybe, events, you lean towards enjoying it more because there's people around you that want you to enjoy it. But
I've just thought of one
that
I actually hate. Yeah, Hibachi.
Never played it.
I got it for you. For your Secret Santa. You massive prick.
Did you? Wait, you bought me a
so.
game you don't like?
Yeah, because I think you'd like it. That makes me a better friend.
Hey, what's it called, sorry?
I think it's called Hibachi, the fireworks game.
You didn't buy me that. I haven't got a fireworks game. You must have bought it for someone else. The game you brought me was...
I bought you that.
You fucking didn't.
I'm going to go on Amazon and check.
That's not... You haven't bought me a fireworks game. You bought me one where you're running like a pub or something, like a fantasy pub, where you're telling like progressively more bullshit
Braggarts.
Braggarts. That's what you brought me.
Great. Did I? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm glad I didn't buy you Hibachi then. Hibachi is a game where you are trying to put on the perfect fireworks show, and it is a focus and memory game, and therefore I hate it and suck at it. You have special cards that allow you to pick up. You basically have to. All the cards are face down, and you get tiny little bits of time to look at them and memorize where they are. But you're not allowed to talk to anyone. You just have to kind of. I'm doing a terrible job describing this because it's been ages, and even trying to remember what the rules are is difficult for me. But essentially, I remember playing it with my friend Tom. I looked at all the cards. It went round once, and then I completely forgotten.
I'm still annoyed you think you'd buy me a game that you don't like.
I've not sold this at all, have I?
No, I mean, I don't think Amazon's going to be selling out anytime soon after this big sale.
I don't know the designer's name and I hate it.
Well, let's not expect to get any free promo copies of their future games at any point. Sorry, Mr. Designer. It's not for me.
It's a great game.
I'd love that on the box. It's not for me. ... It's a great game! Exclamation mark. So, Let's have a little chat about something else that the three of us started playing one of together, and I think we went down the route that a lot of people do who start playing these kind of games, and I'm determined that we will get through one of them, and that is legacy gaming. If you don't know what legacy gaming is, that is basically... You're seeing a real trend in legacy games right now. It started out with Risk Legacy, but the most famous one is probably Pandemic Legacy. And what these are they are a game played over 10, 11, 12, 13 games or whatever, however many it is, and each game progresses on the last one. So it adds some new mechanics. You have some nice little boxes to open where you don't know what extra pieces are going to be in there, and they add more and more to the game. And for me personally, I love the idea of legacy games.
No, I agree. I really enjoy legacy games. I just think they're great fun.
I mean, I should say that the one we've all started playing was Betrayal Legacy. We started playing it when we were all working at the same company together before a few of us left, which is I think the only reason we stopped playing.
Oh, definitely.
Betrayal Legacy is the legacy version of Betrayal at House on the Hill. If you don't know what Betrayal at House on the Hill is, it's very simply a group of people go to a haunted house, you explore, shit goes down, eventually somebody turns out to become the betrayer. You have a little book, and in that book there's 50 different possible stories for what might happen from here. So it might be that one of the people is trying to create Frankenstein's monster, and they've created this monster and it's hunting everyone down through the house. It might be that, did you have one once, Tobias, where you got shrunk to be the size of mice? And I hear that game is broken as shit, that one.
My first experience with Betrayal was playing it with my parents and my parents' friends, and lovely Graham turned out to be the traitor. We all got shrunk, and he turned to a cat. He got turned into a cat, and for the next 20 minutes, he just murdered us. But because he's lovely, he felt bad. Nobody had any fun that game.
Yeah, I've heard that from what I've read. So Betrayal at the House on the Hill it's a bit of a classic, really. People love it, even though, because it has so many different game modes, and there's no way it can be that well balanced. Some of them are just broken. And the cat one, from what I've read, is probably the most broken.
I didn't go back to it for a couple of years, and then when I did, I absolutely loved it. The Legacy version, Legacies in general, it's awesome. I absolutely love that stuff. I think it goes back into the whole thing of enjoying the journey and the narrative experience, and Legacy is kind of like the next step.
Yeah, for sure.
In that,
I don't want to spoil it, but like the first game we played of Betrayal Legacy genuinely had a moment at the end of it where we were all like, "What?" Do you remember? Like, I don't want to give away what that moment was. But we were all just like, what has happened? Where we were all running around a house trying to murder each other.
Yeah, I think it is with legacy games is that it's not just one play session. It's like, obviously it's carried over multiple play sessions, which is nice. Whereas, with a lot of board games, it's like you play it once for an hour and then you play it again another time. And the games are so different that you might not enjoy it.
I feel like if you are somebody, it kind of marries the two styles of, like, if you are somebody that really does enjoy winning games, a legacy game kind of offers an opportunity to play a game and grow it and evolve it, and perhaps you don't win that particular scenario, but you can always come back while simultaneously having that kind of journey experience if that's what you're into.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I love that obviously with Betrayal Legacy, it adds extra rooms to the house each time, and as Betrayal Legacy moves forward, you jump forward through generations. So you start as one set of characters, then the next one you're maybe their children or their grandchildren. And the very first game we played, I won the first game, and the house was very small. And then it says add this and this, and one of the things that we had to add was a burial yard. Because of all the people that I'd killed in the first game, that was where I'd taken their bodies and stashed them.
You sound too happy once you said. I could hear the smile.
I was so happy because I was running around with that flintlock pistol, just blasting the shit out of you all. And so then the next game you play, you might end up going through this burial yard, and you just know that that's where all the characters are from the very first game, where they all just got murdered in that house.
So narratively, it adds another element, and that's awesome. Like you say, I think we have the same issue that a lot of people have, where it's kind of like the consistency of the group can be problematic, and then whilst you're playing other games and getting into other stuff, it can kind of fizzle out, and that's a real shame. And I think one of the things we really want to do here on House Rule is play a lot more of those, just so that if you are one of those people that maybe can't get into it yourself, at least you can kind of follow our journey and we can take you through it.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's something we've spoken about a lot, isn't it? Like almost letting the viewer be like the other person at the table. Plus, there's something I want to mention about somebody here, Thomas, in our last game of Betrayal Legacy. So things change. Like, you can be permanently removing things from the game. out of the items in the house, we had this amazing, like it was some sort of modern weapon. We had this flintlock pistol, didn't we, Tom?
Yeah, it was Mars pistol. I can see it right now, actually.
Yeah, Mars pistol.
Oh, I can't.
No. And what happened was, it came down to the end of one of the games where somebody had been possessed by, like, I remember it was like the spirit of a Viking.
Yeah, and he was just going berserk.
And he was chasing the
the berserker.
He was chasing the last... I can't remember who was the Viking, but they were chasing me and Tom round the house. And it ended up with me and you, Tom, outside the house, holding him off at a distance. I'd put down some traps, and all you had to do was get one hit. One hit. So when you roll these dice, they're D6. I think one side's blank. Three sides have got a 1. 2 sides have got a 2. That might be inaccurate. If you ever roll all blanks, the pistol breaks and is done. It's out of the game. Rip that card up, get rid of it.
Guess what Tom did? Guess what Tom did?
You rolled what? Blanks on 6 dice,
but,
Tom?
You know, I mean, I was just giving Ben a chance. I still have the card stuck to my monitor.
We stuck the card on his monitor so we'd never
it's still
forget
here.
how he's
still here.
Because the Viking did then go on to murder
Yeah, we
us all.
lost.
So, we did lose, Tom. Yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah, but that's what I like about legacy games, though, is that...
Yeah. It's fun. It's the stories you make.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was trying to say about the different play sessions. Is what I was trying to say was just how... It's just how easily... like you remember the previous session because of how the game works. Like just all the fun from the previous session just comes back because you're all reminiscing on what happened then. Like the pistol breaking and all that kind of stuff. That's why I like legacy games.
It doesn't need to have. I mean, it's nice if it does, but it doesn't have to have a ton of lore internally because you make your own up as you go.
Yes, that's really strong.
You know, things like this, and like. You know, as long as you've got like good mechanics and the game plays well, then you discover your own storylines as you go.
I feel like that's the most important part of gaming in general for me.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So actually, whilst we're talking about legacy games, I've been teasing Tobias for a couple of days. He messaged me yesterday that says don't even care anymore. But I've been messaging him about that I brought a new game.
Why are you calling out my teenage strops, you massive prick?
So I brought a game the other day. Of course I did. Which I thought, you know what, Tobias is going to absolutely love this game. I've been waiting for...
You were being a dickhead about it.
I've been waiting for this game to come back into stock. I got a notification the other day. It was about to come back in, so I thought I'm going to order a copy. It is a legacy game. I messaged Tobias to say, I've ordered a game that you're going to really like. He wanted to instantly know what it was, which I refused to tell him. I said, I'll tell you when we're doing the podcast. And then he got in a strop with me. I think he may have even rang me up and called me a dickhead. So... I brought this game, and it's called The King's Dilemma, which is a... let me ask you a question, Tobias. Would you ever have liked to have sat on the small council in Game of Thrones and determined the future of the kingdoms?
Well, yeah, obviously. That would be wicked.
That is what this game is.
Okay, cool.
Everybody playing. It's a 3 to 5 player game. Each person takes on a house, and you then become a member of the King's Council, deciding... what should happen to the kingdom.
Yes. That sounds awesome.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Okay. Right, so when are we getting drunk and playing it?
Well, it's a legacy. I mean, soon, I hope. Each of you have different objectives. Some of you might be very Lannister-esque, where, you know, you always pay back your debts. This is very much going off of what I've read and watched about the game. Obviously, I haven't played it yet. But you'll all... and everyone has... each house has slightly different motives. Your motive as a player may not completely align with your houses, but they'll give you special abilities and they give you a bit of an idea of how they play. You then, as a collective, need to make decisions about what's going to happen. In the box, there are 75 different envelopes, which as you make decisions, you'll add extra cards into the game. There's also a book, which I believe is 175 stickers, which you use for modifying the world map and stuff like this, for how things have happened, where wars have taken place, what new laws have been introduced. And yeah, it just sounds really, really cool.
This sounds
awesome. Does sound like my kind of game.
What's it called?
It's called The King's Dilemma.
King's Dilemma. Okay, cool. I'll have a little peek-see in a bit, but I don't want to do...
No, there's a lot of betrayal involved and the like, so yeah.
Yes!
Yeah, exactly. So it's got all that betrayal element that we like. You know, you're constantly going to probably in a 5-player have people teaming up 2-on-2, making decisions, and then just a 5th person going, I'm just going to side with these people this time.
Yeah.
So it looks awesome. Like, I can't wait for it to turn
Chaos
up.
element. Love it. Okay.
Yeah, so there you go. I bought that because I knew you were going to like it, Tobias. And Tom, the fact that you seem to like the sound of it as well, that's an added bonus.
Oh no, definitely. I'm more into my medieval style stuff than like sci-fi style stuff anyway, so this sounds great.
So that's our look at legacy games. As we say, if there's any particular legacies you want to see us playing, then let us know. I have a bit of an Alan's dilemma, and that is that I'd love us to do some videos of Betrayal Legacy, but we're obviously like 4 chapters in. We can't really continue from where we are. Should I just buy another box?
Yeah, man.
The first one's going to be, having played it already, the very first one is going to be a bit of a wet squib.
Yeah, so we've already confessed to kind of our audience the fact that we know what the twist is, so we'll ham it up.
Yeah,
but,
for you.
You know,
for the viewers.
Yeah.
Can we do a dramatic reconstruction of what happened?
Obviously, after the first one, you get the whole element of who's going to be the betrayer. So I think after the first one, it'll all be fine. Yeah. It's just the first one's going to be a bit... So
I'd like to jump back into it this show.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So maybe we should have a little look at a little chat about a couple of what I think are some exciting upcoming games. One of these games we've already mentioned multiple times today. So the two that I'd really like to talk a little bit about are Gloomhaven, Jaws of the Lion, and Nemesis Lockdown. So, do you guys know anything about either of these games?
No.
So, let me give you the rundown. Let's talk. We won't dwell on these for too long. Gloomhaven, Jaws of the Lion. I think this is one as well, Tobias, that you might find quite interesting. So we spent a day playing Gloomhaven, right?
Yeah, it's wicked. I loved my little psychic rat boy.
Your little mind thief or whatever he was called.
Yeah, he was great. I had a blast. I had a voice for him.
It's so loud. Is that this funny?
Oh God, it was like
hey.
That. God, it makes the hairs on the back of my neck stand up.
I'm gonna use my psychic blast.
Hey boy.
That was great fun.
Yeah.
I was hammered.
Yeah. So everyone out there knows Gloomhaven. It is the Board Game Geek #1 game of all time. There's just been the Kickstarter campaign for Frosthaven, which is now the most funded board game of all time, overtaking Kingdom Death. It did about $12 million. This Jaws of the Lion is not a Kickstarter. It is a straight-to-retail Gloomhaven game, which is they're treating as an introductory Gloomhaven game. So it's 25 scenarios instead of about 100. You've just got 4 characters in the box. I think it's like 15 enemies instead of like 60 enemies, and it's just a more concise version of Gloomhaven. But it is still the same. Mechanically, it's the same game. It's just done on a smaller scale, whereas Gloomhaven involved going out to all the surrounding areas. Jaws of the Lion all takes place within the city, and you are part of a group of mercenaries called the Jaws of the Lion. And the first 5 scenarios will teach you how to play the game. So they take you from, you don't need to read the rules before. You can start out with scenario 1. Scenarios like 1, 2, 3 will teach you the super basics. Then 4 will bring a few more in. 5 will bring a few more in. And after that, you should be ready to go on the game by yourself.
Cool.
So it looks like a cool game. It looks good fun. It doesn't have the big tiles anymore. What they've actually done is, and I'm a fan of this idea, is that very much like we were talking earlier on about Near and Far and Sleeping Gods, they have added a book that you open, and each different page of the book is the map. So everything can look different. The problem with Gloomhaven was a lot of the areas could look very similar because it was all made with the same tiles. Each one of these has completely
That's
unique
cool.
art.
It sounds Gloomhaven. We basically took a day off. We went to our company house at the time, didn't we? And we basically had a plan to play 12 hours of just random board games. We opened up Gloomhaven, and the whole day was utterly consumed, which was both yeah, and it was a brilliant day, but it was just such a kind of behemoth to get into. So this sounds wonderful in terms of just making it a bit more kind of digestible, I suppose. It's utterly superb. It's such a fun game.
Yeah, it looks really cool. It's going to have, I believe it's going to be, so I think it is a exclusive to Target in the US until August, and then after August it goes to retail everywhere. I think it's going to be retailing at around $50, £50, because we always get screwed on conversions. But yeah, I'm definitely interested in checking that one out when it releases. And actually, I've written a I've written a bit of an article about it on the All Maverick website, so go and check that out if you're interested. The other game I wanted to talk about was Nemesis Lockdown, which we've all played a bit of Nemesis, some of us more than others. And Nemesis Lockdown is the sequel, which is kind of a standalone expansion, actually. It's very much more of the same. It is Alien the movie with the name change.
That's fair.
And made into a board game. But that's not an insult. Like, not at all. It's as awesome an Alien game as I think you could make, just without the Alien license. The original takes place on a spaceship. You come out of hypersleep. There's a dead body. Shit's gone down. You've got to figure out what's gone on, and each of you has your own personal objectives. It's a semi-co-op. You might be trying to help each other. Your objectives may be very much in line with the other players. They may not be. And Nemesis Lockdown is more of the same, apart from the new location is a base on Mars. There's a new alien race, which these kind of, I think they're called Night Stalkers or something like that. They're like a bat-type alien. But they've also added now a plant-based alien as a stretch goal, where these don't follow you around. It's like one giant plant that starts growing all throughout the base.
That sounds awesome.
So, it looks cool. It's more of the same, but more of the same for me with this one is not a bad thing.
Oh, no, definitely.
No, not at all. I still need to play more. Of the original Nemesis, so I suppose that one's a little bit less of a rush for me.
Yeah.
But I can imagine that Nemesis is something that we're going to touch on a lot here, because it's just so good.
It's great fun, yeah. And I mean, you could play Lockdown without having played Nemesis. Like, it's standalone. So I never actually owned a copy of Nemesis. With the copy we've all played actually belongs to my dad. So I've may have backed Nemesis Lockdown. So maybe,
That's not a surprise.
Moving swiftly on to the subject of your goddamn Kickstarter
so
problem.
I feel like for somebody, to come to terms with your addictions and maybe, take control of your demons, those of us that suffer from these things need to address them. So I thought that today could be that day.
Well,
and
I mean, but if we don't stop,
you're not allowed to stop even if we scave you for it.
Oh, this is not a good AA meeting.
Yeah, no, we need you to keep doing this because it gives us more content.
Okay, well,
No,
my name's Alan, and I think I might be a Kickstarter holic.
You think?
Okay, that's fine. So I have my own Kickstarter. I've done a couple of things over the years. Mostly shitty MMOs.
Yeah, they are.
But I get notifications from Kickstarter. They've slowed down a little bit, which has annoyed me slightly. Whenever Alan backs something, and it's always board games, and I always pretend to tell him off because I don't want to look like I'm an enabler or anything, although I've just entirely fessed that I am.
Maybe too much.
But yeah, no, Alan backs a hell of a lot of stuff.
So this is another part of the story that I need to tell you. I genuinely... So you and Fred will, as you say, berate me if I... or jokingly berate me when I back too many games on Kickstarter, yeah?
Yeah.
Like you say, you actually made a WhatsApp group where you could combine your berating so that it didn't have to be individual.
It saved us time and effort, frankly.
You say that they've slowed down.
Have you been hiding it from me?
I removed you and Fred from getting notifications when I back stuff on Kickstarter.
That is an addiction.
Right, no, that actually has turned into a problem then, hasn't it?
Oh,
we won't
God.
even break... Yeah, it definitely is. Oh, I feel bad enabling this now.
God.
You say that they've slowed down.
Heroin's cheaper.
I backed 3 things last
Oh
night.
my God. Do you even remember what they are?
Motherfucker, right, you put me back on straight away. I had a small pang of guilt there for a second, but I actually don't care. Where are you putting everything?
I mean,
Well, a lot of it hasn't arrived yet.
I reckon he's got one of those crazy killer, murder suspect walls with all these draw pins in it and string everywhere connecting how all these games are linked to each other. You've just got an obsession.
I did buy a fancy board game storage unit.
Did you
Off
Kickstarter?
of Kickstarter.
It's become a self-fulfilling prophecy.
So I'm going to tell you now. I feel like this is part of me coming to terms with it. These are all the things I'm going to tell you now are the games that I have backed and I have paid for we're just waiting on arrival, okay?
Yeah.
Alright.
Sleeping Gods, the one from Ryan Lockett I was telling you about
Good
earlier
old
on.
Ryan Lockett.
Yeah, he's my friend.
Super Fantasy Brawl.
Yes, I'm really excited for that. I can't wait for that game.
Tom. Bloodborne,
Nice,
the
nice.
Yeah.
board game adaptation, may have gone all in on that
Oh
one
my
God.
with every expansion.
Let's hope it gets delivered, unlike the Dark Souls board game.
Lady, he's putting my kids through college.
Spire's End, a cool little card game narrative one where it's progressing as you fight your way up this big tower. An absolute ton of Kingdom Death Monster. Will they ever get released expansions? Who knows? Because we've been waiting for 3 years and we've been told that there's going to be at least another year. So maybe we'll get those one day.
I think
Who
they're
knows?
just trolling you. Maybe all the rest of the backers are just fake backers, and then they've just put all these
maybe
things up
shit.
just for you.
Oathsworn, which is a kind of fantasy adventure game as well. You can see the kind of the way that these are all falling. Time of Legends Destinies, which is another adventure game. Hell, another adventure game, also made by Mythic Games. And a game called Mind MGMT, which is a one versus many game where you try to explore a big board. One of you's trying to escape from the others.
Oh, that sounds good.
A little bit,
That does sound good.
you know, like Scotland Yard. To be
Can I go back to the games I hated?
honest. What was wrong with Scotland Yard?
I don't know. Again, I think you need to focus quite hard, don't you?
Was it just people throwing slices of pizza on my game that was the problem?
Not going.
That was the game. That was the problem I had with
I
it.
knew you were going to bring that up. Get over it.
Yes. So that's all the ones that I full on paid for. There's then another 3, 4, 5, 6, another 9 that have got $1 on them at the
Well,
moment.
let's keep an air of mystique as to what they could be. Let's
Yeah.
not.
Oh, I'm not going to go into those.
We won't blow our load on your Kickstarter problem right now.
There's a game that came out. I think it came out this week actually. That I sent to you guys. I think at some point that I kind of want to get just because of what I've been playing lately. But it's the Small World of Warcraft game that is made by Days of Wonder board games, and
Yep.
they made Small World and Small World Underground. But yeah,
cool.
there's a World of Warcraft board game version that I'd like to give a try.
Is it retail WoW or is it awesome classic WoW?
It looks more classic
Okay, cool.
than it is retail from what I've seen of it, but
Good shit.
it will contain retail characters probably.
I do feel that Alan and I are basically like your parents.
Yeah, no one.
Oh,
Yeah, for
definitely.
people that don't know us, like basically, I met Alan and Tobias through work experience. So yeah, they are. I used to regard them as like my bosses, and I used to really look up to them. But I've known them so long
What is
But-
going on?
Wow.
that I just don't
Wow.
anymore.
If ever there was a backhanded compliment there.
That was amazing, Tom. We gave
I
you.
used to really respect them.
We gave you the footing to get where you are now. The man you've become. You went
It's
to
true.
us.
These guys,
Exactly.
yeah, they got me a job in the games industry. I mean, I just wanted to say this earlier, but I just kind of held it to myself.
You're a little sweetheart.
I was going to talk about my biggest pet peeve of playing with Alan,
Oh.
right? Just because we're talking about Alan and his Kickstarter
Oh.
obsession.
Shit, look at this. What's this?
It is that Alan, right? He's good at understanding all these games, right? But there's always one rule he forgets, and then towards the end of the game, he remembers this rule, and then he wins every time.
That's just not true.
It
That's
is
just
true.
not
Alan,
true, Tom.
shut the fuck
It is
up.
true.
Let the boy talk.
I'm just putting it out there. Alan he always forgets one rule. One rule.
I want an example.
Super Fantasy Brawl. Trying to think of another game we played against each
You're
other.
just naming games. That's not an example.
He only asked for one example. I don't want
Yeah,
it.
Super Fantasy Brawl.
I
Again.
think you're just stroppy because last time we played Nemesis, you were trying to kill me,
Yeah, I even threw a grenade at you and it didn't work.
and I figured out your plan. So I tasered you, got in an escape pod, and flew off without you in the last escape
And I was
pod.
the last. I was just left there, devastated.
Just left on a ship that was about to explode. And if that's not a reason to watch us play Nemesis,
Yeah, I love it.
I don't know.
I wasted 2 grenades trying to stop you getting out of that bloody escape pod.
Yeah, you did, little scumbag. Right.
Oh, hold
so I
on,
think
hold
that
on. My
covers-
pet
oh.
peeve with playing games with
Oh,
Alan.
go for it.
Yeah, go on.
Oh shit. Okay.
We've
We've
wow,
started
this
a
is
new
thing
segment now. Go on.
Yeah, is that he doesn't hide his animosity that I don't listen anymore. There used to be a time where he pretended not to notice, and now he shouts at me.
Oh, I wouldn't shout at either of you.
Thanks, Tom.
No, you're too scared to. This has really been an episode just to get to know us a bit better and the games we enjoy. From the next episodes, we'll be looking probably more specifically at some stuff and talking about different topics. Whereas this has kind of gone all over the place. I mean, by no means expect that we will ever be people that can stay on topic.
I can't do focus.
No, that's what exactly we know that, Tom. We know
We
that,
can try.
We know that. So, but yeah, if there's anything you'd like to see us cover in a video, then let us know. If any of those games we spoke about today sound cool to you and you'd like to see us do some videos, definitely let us know. We will be starting to shoot more videos soon. Unfortunately, we are all still currently on at least a degree of lockdown.
Yay.
But we're coming out the other end of that now, so hopefully we're going to be able to start shooting some stuff again soon.
Alan's about to become my bubble.
Oh.
We're allowed to bubble now.
I mean,
Oh, mate, I'm so excited for us to bubble
I'm
up.
bubbling with you.
I just,
Tom, do you want to watch us bubble?
I don't know.
Yeah, watch your parental figures
I
bubble.
get involved myself. A bubble sounds pretty closed off. It doesn't sound like there's place for a third person.
There's always room for a third, Tom.
No, but I'm a big boy. Wipe the bubble first.
Oh, God.
Cool.
You are a big boy.
This has genuinely been really good fun, actually. And I mean, Alan and I come from a filmmaking background. I think we've always wanted to do something where we kind of unleash our full creativity without anybody telling us what to do. And so you can expect a pretty diverse range of stuff, some pretty wacky stuff. We're going to have a lot of fun with it. And I think that our audience are going to have a big hand in kind of dictating the stuff that they like, don't like, what they'd like to see more of. So be vocal, give us a shout.
Yeah, definitely don't forget to check out everything else over at allmaverick.com. Remember, we are covering a ton of different stuff. We're going to be covering board games, as we say, some role-play games, but not just gaming stuff. It's all kinds of things, adventure videos, travel stuff. We're going to be doing some mad videos looking back at old WrestleManias, which Jeremy is very excited to get underway. All kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, allmaverick.com for all that content.
What an upsell.
Say bye, Tom.
Oh, bye, Tom.
I knew you were going to do that.
Well,
Yeah.
you told me to say it. All right, goodbye, everybody.
Say it sounding happy, Tom.
Goodbye, everyone. We're gonna miss you. We'll
Imagine
we'll see
you're
you next
listening
time.
to this, and it's like, why is there 5 minutes? Why is there 5 minutes left?
It's got a longer outro than
Right,
Lord of the
all right,
Rings,
all right, all
Return of the King.
I can do it.
Go on, Tom.
Thank you, everybody, for watching our or listening to our podcast today. We have discussed a few issues today that we are looking to expand upon in the future, and we shall see you another time. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Good job, Tom. Good job.
We'll get better at this.
Maybe.
See you later. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.